If you have not been watching OJ Made in America on ABC and ESPN, you are missing out. Quite possibly the greatest documentary I have ever seen. It is amazing. You hear me? Go watch OJ Made in America. It's streaming now on ESPN. It is quite possibly the best documentary I have ever seen. And I'm going to talk more about the documentary in a second. But let me tell you something. After watching The People vs. OJ and watching the first 3 parts of this documentary, let me tell you what. Orenthal James Simpson should have been in jail since 1994 for the murder of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. I'm talking about under the jail. It is, bruh, let me tell you, man. At the time, I thought he didn't do it. I was also like 11 years old, so I didn't really know that much about it. But, bruh. Somebody just said we knew this. Some people still weren't sure. I saw a thing that said his son might have killed her, and I believed that for a second. Bruh, OJ killed that woman and got away with murder. Murder. And the thing is, I didn't think this documentary was going to be that good because I had just watched The People vs. OJ, and my wife had been watching a lot of stuff about OJ. And the thing that's so interesting about this documentary is, one, it's about race. It's also about class. It's also about how those two things, actually race, class, celebrity worshiping, and law enforcement intersect at times. So you have the poor people in one part of Los Angeles who, if they did the same thing as OJ, would have been in jail. I'm not even talking about murder. I'm talking about OJ beat his wife like relentlessly. They played the 911 calls, and this man was a jealous, savage person. And if he was just not OJ, he would have been in jail. One time the police just let him go. Like, they were like, you're under arrest, and he just got in his car and drove off. And the next day was like, hey, I kind of messed up. So it shows like, and also, I'm not, this isn't really coherent as my periscopes, well, really usually aren't, but I'm just talking. OJ really was out here thinking he wasn't black. Like, OJ was really out here thinking he wasn't black. I mean, like, really out here like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. And in some ways, it really was true. Because he wasn't being treated by the police like he was black. He was being treated like he was OJ. Which is like a celebrity that's revered and getting away with stuff nobody would ever get away with. I mean, like, bruh. The officer told him, you're under arrest. He was beating Nicole Brown Simpson. She came out bloody, swollen face. And she was like, officer was like, you're under arrest. And he said the next thing he hears is a Bentley going down the street. And the dude never went to jail for that. So in one part of town, the police are beating the brakes off of Rodney King. And this Korean store owner is shooting a girl in the back of the head and getting probation for it, which I never heard of. I didn't hear this story ever until this. And then OJ is beating his wife within an inch of her life and also not turning himself into police when they are like agreed, which leads to the Bronco chase. And then OJ, here's the thing that, like, OJ's a terrible person. I'm sorry. There's just like no, only thing he's good at was running football. And for that reason, he's not in jail. Well, he is in jail. He's not in jail for murder, but he's in jail. Yeah, it really wasn't even a chase. It was a following. But OJ benefited from the way that the LAPD treated poor black people and the way that Los Angeles as a city and a judicial system treated poor black people, even though that wasn't his struggle. Like, he got to benefit from Rodney King and LaTanya, I didn't remember her last name, and everything the police did that mistreated everybody else. The jurors gave OJ the benefit of the doubt in a murder that he did, and if he did not do, the evidence points to him as the killer. There's so much evidence that it is overwhelming. If this was, and it's funny because Marsha Clark thought it was an open and a shut case because she was forgetting that OJ was OJ, and she was forgetting that people mistrusted the judicial system and the law enforcement system. She totally underestimated how black people treated the system. And they tried this case in downtown, which was a much more mixed race jury than in Simi Valley or Santa Monica, where the trial would have been 2 weeks and he would have been in jail since. So it's just really interesting that, like we always knew, it's very obvious, but it's interesting to make it very clear. The legal system does not work the same way for everyone. And the legal system works the best for the people with money. The more money you have, the better you can work the legal system. It really isn't about whether you did it or not, okay? It's about the money you have to afford the right legal team. It's not about whether OJ did it or not. It's pretty obvious he did it. But he had Johnny Cochran, who in his infinite wisdom decided, I'm not even going to try and prove that OJ is innocent because that's too great of a burden. What I'm going to try and do instead is prove to you that the law enforcement is crooked and there's a conspiracy. And if you already think there's a conspiracy in the law enforcement society because of what had been happening in Los Angeles for the last 30 years and what had blown up really bad in the last 5 years, then you forget about DNA. Y'all, they had his blood. DNA at the crime scene. DNA at the crime scene now is dead to rights. Planted or not, whatever. DNA at the crime scene, y'all, and he got off. Now, here's an interesting way how the legal system doesn't work for poor people. Take Making a Murderer, which is Stephen Avery. Poor person, can't afford the same legal team, and he's white. DNA at the murder scene, corrupt law enforcement, he's out of here. Twice. They put him in jail. Once for something he didn't do, the second time for something he may or may not have done. But it was all type of conspiracy, and that man is in jail, and he was at least innocent the first time. So when you have, almost endless money, you are not going to go to jail like somebody who's poor. And that is America. And the reason I really like this documentary, because it's about OJ, but it's more about race, class, the legal system, and law enforcement in America as a whole, and how the climate of Los Angeles shaped the OJ case. And that going from him being a football star at USC to him being an NFL star to everything that was happening. Like, I just thought it was Rodney King. There was so much more. And the way the legal system is so ridiculous. Like, since the burden of proof falls on the prosecution, all Johnny Cochran had to do is poke holes in the case, and he played the jurors like a fiddle. Payback for Rodney King. One of the jurors said that she voted payback for Rodney King. The way she voted in the OJ trial was payback for Rodney King. That's not how the legal system should work. And she's black, by the way. That's not how the legal system should work. But as a lawyer, it is genius to play on people's human emotion. Because the legal system is not robots. You can play on people. That's why jury selection in these type of cases is so important. They had to get a jury that wasn't necessarily sympathetic with OJ, but they were sympathetic with the plight of black men and black people's treatment by the legal system and law enforcement. Yes, you're exactly right. OJ, my golden life. OJ wasn't black until his black behind was on trial. And this man, OJ, was a complete and utter savage. Had a black wife, which I had no idea. Really didn't know much about his ex-wife. I don't know why I didn't realize that. He had a son in OJ, the People versus OJ, and that just didn't click in my head. Cheated on his black wife with a white woman. He saw Nicole Brown Simpson, or Nicole Brown at the time, waiter in the restaurant he was in, and he said, that's gonna be my wife, while fully married to his wife. He was like, that's gonna be my wife. And his best friend had a girlfriend in high school, and OJ was like, just Trey Songz, it's Mr. Still Your Girl. Oh, it's Mr. Still Your Girl. He's straight. You think because you have a Mercedes you can do that to me? You cut me off. They tried to. Oh, that was not the right time to say that line from a movie. But anyway, OJ was out here being a terrible person. His wife was not even cheating on him. They were separated or divorced, and she was doing the sex with another man, okay? She was doing the sex, and he was out in the window watching her like some freaking